Pam Bondi walked onto the View stage Wednesday morning with her usual professional composure. The former Florida Attorney General and Trump nominee was scheduled to discuss judicial reform alongside actor Robert De Niro, who'd become increasingly political in recent years. The pairing seemed odd, but the producers promised a civilized discussion about America's future. The show started cordially enough. Whoopi introduced both guests warmly. She said, "We have Pam Bondi and Robert De Niro here to discuss different visions for America. Let's keep it respectful, folks." Pam sat poised, papers in front of her. De Niro seemed agitated from the start, his leg bouncing under the table. Joy Behar directed the first question to Pam. She said, "Pam, you've been nominated for Attorney General. How do you respond to critics who say you're too partisan for the role?" Pam responded professionally. She said, "I've spent my career prosecuting criminals regardless of party affiliation. My record in Florida speaks for itself. We went after corruption wherever we found it." De Niro scoffed audibly. The cameras caught it. Sunny Hostin turned to him. She said, "Robert, you've been very vocal about your political views. What concerns you about appointments like Pam's?" De Niro leaned forward aggressively. He said, "What concerns me? Everything. People like her are destroying democracy. They're enablers. They're complicit in the destruction of everything America stands for." Pam remained calm. She said, "Mr. De Niro, we can disagree without being disagreeable. I'm here to discuss policy, not trade insults." De Niro's face reddened. He said, "Policy? You want to talk policy? Your policies put children in cages. Your policies attack women's rights. Your policies. Those are mischaracterizations," Pam interrupted calmly. "And you know it. We can have an honest debate without hyperbole." The tension was building. The host seemed pleased with the drama. Sarah Haynes tried to moderate. She said, "Let's focus on specific issues. Pam, what are your priorities if confirmed?" Pam began outlining her plans for combating human trafficking and drug cartels. She was articulate, prepared, professional. De Niro kept interrupting with sighs, eye rolls, and muttered comments. The microphones picked up him saying bullshit under his breath. Alyssa Farah Griffin addressed him. She said, "Robert, would you like to respond to Pam's points directly?" De Niro exploded. He said, "Respond? To what? Lies? Propaganda? She's part of a criminal organization masquerading as a political movement." Pam's composure finally cracked slightly. She said, "Mr. De Niro, I've been nothing but respectful to you. I'd appreciate the same courtesy. Calling me a criminal is defamatory." "Sue me," De Niro shouted. "You people love lawsuits, right? Love threatening anyone who speaks truth." He stood up suddenly, his chair scraping loudly. Pam remained seated, maintaining her dignity. She said, "I'm not threatening anyone. I'm asking for civil discourse." Clearly, that's too much to expect. De Niro moved around the table, gesticulating wildly. He said, "Civil? You want civil? While you destroy civil rights. While you attack civil society. While you—" As he passed behind Pam's chair, still ranting, he placed his hand on her shoulder. It wasn't violent, but it was aggressive, meant to emphasize his point. Pam jerked away and stood up immediately, spinning to face him. Her voice cut through his rant like ice. She said, "Don't ever touch me again." The studio went dead silent. De Niro seemed taken aback. He said, I said. Pam's voice was controlled but powerful. "Don't ever touch me again. You don't get to put your hands on me. Not now. Not ever." The hosts froze, unsure how to respond. The audience was riveted. De Niro tried to minimize it. He said, "Oh, come on. You just what?" Pam stepped toward him, her prosecutor's instincts kicking in. "You just thought you could intimidate me? You just thought because you're Robert De Niro you could lay hands on me during a discussion? You just thought what exactly?" Whoopi tried to intervene. She said, "Let's all calm down." "No." Pam turned to her. "I won't calm down. This man just put his hands on me because he didn't like what I was saying. That's assault. That's battery. That's exactly the kind of intimidation tactics women face when powerful men don't like their words. Now, what you're witnessing is a moment that changes everything. When someone stands up to Hollywood royalty who thinks fame means no boundaries. This is why voices like ours exist, to show you these raw moments of truth they try to bury. When powerful people cross lines and get called out, that's when real change happens. Be part of this movement for accountability." De Niro was flustered. He said, "You're being dramatic. I touched your shoulder." Without permission, Pam interrupted. In anger. To intimidate. And now you're trying to gaslight me about it. Classic abuser behavior. The audience gasped. Calling De Niro an abuser was explosive. Joy tried to defend him. She said, "Pam, that's a bit extreme." "Is it?" Pam rounded on her. "If a conservative man put his hands on a liberal woman during a heated debate, would you call her reaction extreme? Or would you call for his arrest?" Sonny attempted to speak. She said, "There's a difference between." Between what? Pam was fully unleashed now. Between liberal men and conservative men? Liberal men get to touch women without consent? Liberal men get to physically intimidate their opponents? What exactly is the difference, Sonny? De Niro tried again. He said, "I apologize if you felt." "If I felt?" Pam's voice rose. "I didn't feel you touch me. You did touch me. Everyone saw it. The cameras caught it. Don't you dare try to make this about my feelings when it's about your actions." She turned to the audience. "This is what we deal with. Men who think their politics make them good guys. Who think their fame gives them rights to our bodies. Who think their anger justifies their aggression. And when we speak up, we're dramatic." Sarah Haynes weakly offered, "Perhaps we should take a break." "We're not taking a break," Pam said firmly. "Mr. De Niro is going to acknowledge what he did wrong. He's going to apologize properly. Or I'm pressing charges for battery. Right here. Right now." The studio was in complete chaos. Producers were frantically gesturing off camera. De Niro, realizing the seriousness, stammered, I apologize for touching you without permission. It was wrong." And Pam pressed. "And it was inappropriate. I let my emotions get the better of me." And Pam wasn't letting up. De Niro looked confused. He said, "And what?" "And you'll never do it again. To me or any other woman. Say it." De Niro, humiliated, mumbled, "I'll never do it again." Pam nodded once. She said, "Good. Now sit down and keep your hands to yourself for the rest of this show." She turned back to the hosts. "You want to know why I'm qualified to be Attorney General? Because I don't let anyone, not celebrities, not politicians, not anyone, violate the law. Even small violations. Even shoulder touches meant to intimidate. Because that's how it starts." Whoopi, completely off script now, said, "Pam, I think we all need to process this." Pam interrupted. "A man put his hands on me in anger, and you all watched. Some of you would have let it slide because you like his politics. That's not justice. That's privilege. And I won't stand for it." She gathered her papers calmly. "I came here for civil discourse. Instead, I got physically intimidated by a man who thinks his fame and politics put him above basic consent. I've made my point. Mr. De Niro has apologized. I'll stay if we can continue respectfully. But if anyone touches me again, I'm calling 911. She sat back down, completely composed. The rest of the show was surreal. De Niro sat silent, clearly shaken. The host struggled through segments. Pam answered questions with perfect professionalism, as if nothing had happened. But everything had happened. Within minutes, the clip exploded across social media. "Don't ever touch me again" became a rallying cry. Women across political spectrums shared stories of being touched without consent during arguments. Conservative media praised Pam for standing up to Hollywood bullies. Liberal media was split. Some defended De Niro, others couldn't deny he'd crossed a line. Legal experts weighed in. Technically, Pam was right. Unwanted touching during a heated argument could constitute battery. De Niro released a fuller apology later, admitting he'd let his passion lead to inappropriate physical contact. But the damage was done. In an interview the next week, Pam reflected on the moment. She said, "I didn't plan to make a scene. But when he touched me, I realized this was bigger than politics. This was about whether famous men get to physically intimidate women they disagree with. The answer is no. Not in a courtroom. Not on a TV show. Not anywhere." The views ratings spiked, but at a cost. They'd hosted a moment that exposed the double standards in how we treat physical boundaries based on politics and fame. Months later, at her confirmation hearing, a senator asked Pam about the incident. She responded simply, "I showed that I'll enforce the law equally. Whether you're a movie star or a nobody, you don't get to put your hands on people without consent. That's the kind of attorney general I'll be." She was confirmed by a wider margin than expected. The revolution wasn't in the confrontation. It was in refusing to let it slide. It was in 3 words that reminded everyone that consent isn't conditional. Don't touch me. Sometimes the most powerful legal arguments aren't made in courtrooms. Sometimes they're made when someone simply refuses to accept what they shouldn't have to.